Imagine your best friend, someone you've trusted for years, suddenly turning into the most toxic person you've ever lived with. Imagine being told, over and over, asterisk, my house, my rules. Don't like it? Move out. Asterisk, well, that's exactly what I did. And the day I walked out his front door, I left with a mortgage he couldn't afford, friends who wanted nothing to do with him, and a life that crumbled in his hands. If you ever had a roommate, boss, or so-called friend abuse your kindness, then you're going to love this story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Because today, you're about to hear one of the sweetest, most well-deserved cases of revenge you'll ever come across. This story takes us back to 2001. I had just moved away from home at 18 to start university. Like most students, I was thrown into a noisy, messy student hall with strangers. But among them was one guy. Let's call him Donald. At first, he was fun. We clicked instantly. He became one of my closest friends. After our first year, we decided to move into a proper house together, along with 2 other friends. Life was good. Cheap beer, late-night study sessions, and the kind of freedom you only get once in life. By the end of that lease, things shifted. Donald had dropped out of university, but he was working at a bank and, to his credit, he bought his own place. He offered me a spare room to rent, and since we've been close for 3 years, it seemed like the perfect arrangement. Oh, how wrong I was. At first, things seemed fine, but slowly Donald began changing. He wasn't a friend I knew anymore. He became snide, mean for no reason. He would make mutual friends feel unwelcome, throw insults at people, and then laugh them off with that dreaded phrase, asterisk, it's just a joke. Asterisk, he stopped going out with us, stopped being fun. And his aunt, his annoying as hell aunt, was in our flat more often than some of our actual friends. Then came the TV incident. One day he announced, hey, I'm getting Sky TV. You'll need to pay half. I was working a part-time retail job just to pay my way through uni. I told him honestly, I really can't afford that right now. His response? A smug, dismissive sneer. Then you don't get a say on what I watch on my TV. And that was the start of it. From then on, Donald became lazy, manipulative, and downright cruel. He constantly gaslit me into thinking chores were always my turn. If there were dishes in the sink, he'd explode. If the bins weren't taken out the second he walked through the door, he'd lecture me like a child. When I pushed back, he'd hit me with his favorite line. Asterisk, my house, my rules. If you don't like it, maybe you should move out. Asterisk. Never mind the fact that I was juggling 4 retail shifts a week and 3 9-to-5 uni days, while he worked 1 banking job. According to him, I had it easy, so I started pulling away, spending more and more time in my room, being polite, but barely talking to him. My friends stopped visiting. Nobody could stand his attitude, and I felt trapped. But fate has a funny way of throwing you a lifeline. A friend mentioned they knew someone looking for a roommate. I went check out the room. It was cozy, affordable, and, most importantly, it was far, far away from Donald's reign of misery. I didn't even hesitate. I accepted the offer on the spot. When I told my parents about the situation, they didn't just support me. They offered to drive up and help me move out. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to tell Donald, not a single word. I'd let him believe everything was normal, right up until the day I left. 2 weeks later, the Saturday morning rolled around. My parents pulled up, ready to move me out. Donald, still in his little bubble of arrogance, didn't suspect a thing. When he opened the door to see my parents, he suddenly transformed into Mr. Nice Guy. Oh, I didn't know you were coming to visit, he said, putting on his fakest smile. That's when I dropped the bomb. Calmly, casually, but oh so satisfyingly. They're not here for a visit. They're here to move me out. I found a new flat. I decided I didn't want to live by your rules after all, like you kept suggesting. Donald's face fell. He just froze. He looked like he was waiting for someone to yell gotcha, but no one did. He skulked back to his room, embarrassed, humiliated, powerless. While he hid, my parents and I packed up my entire life into 2 car trips. Just an hour later, I was gone. No goodbye. No explanation. I left my keys on the coffee table, closed the door, and walked away from both the flat and the so-called friendship. Later that day, I finally settled into my new home. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Donald. Asterisk, I'm really sorry for the way I behaved. I hope we can still be friends. Asterisk. And you know what I replied? Just 3 words. Asterisk. Ha ha ha. Asterisk. That was it. I never spoke to him again. And here's the beautiful part. Karma took care of the rest. A mutual friend later told me Donald couldn't afford a mortgage on his flat without me. No one else wanted to live with him, because everyone knew how he treated me. He had burned every bridge. He ended up having to move back in with his mom, sell the flat, and quit his job, all because he thought my house, my rules made him untouchable. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's simply walking away, leaving someone to choke on the consequences of their own actions. Donald wanted me gone, and when I finally listened, it destroyed him. If this story gave you goosebumps, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the worst roommate you've ever had? And if you want more stories of karma and revenge served ice cold, make sure you hit subscribe, because we got plenty more coming your way.